saw Shweta too. All right. Anubhav and Preeti, thank you for joining. We were just talking about you guys actually, just the other day. It's good to see you. All right, so.
Good to see you, Mataji Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You doing good?
Yeah, doing fine. Yes. How are you doing there?
Yeah, doing well. Doing well.
Having a snowy day here.
I know. There's a lot of snow there. This is the second storm, right?
Yes, in past 1 week. Yes.
Wow. All right, so we'll continue. I think you guys had finished chapter 1, so we'll start with chapter 2 for Aditi and Himanshu. Chapter 1 is mostly about Arjuna coming face to face with reality of his life, where he's thrown into this most undesirable situation of having to fight with his own dearmost family members and kill them, and that leads to his existential crisis. He tries to wiggle his way out by giving so many reasons to Krishna that why he should not fight. It's almost like he's trying to convince Krishna that please let me not fight. It's like when a child wants to go to play or wants to go to, he gives so many reasons to the parents. Oh, please let me not study right now. I'll come back and do it. Something like that. So Arjuna wants to wiggle out by convincing Krishna. And he himself is not convinced. And as a result, you will see in chapter 2, very quickly his resolve disintegrates and he doesn't really know what to do.
Actually, before we continue with second chapter, those of you guys who have done first chapter the last few weeks, we would like to maybe go around and hear from you guys. One thing that that made an impact, that stuck out for you from first chapter that you want to share with the rest of the group. Karthik, if you want to go, Anshulanchita. Who else? Anubhav, you were also in the class, right? So. You guys there? Knock, knock.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Didi. I think I'll speak on others' behalf a little bit what I remember.
Okay.
Should I or should we wait for others?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So basically, we spoke about various reasons. As Loka Prabhu was saying, he himself was not sure and he was still wanting the affirmation from Krishna. And in order for him, he was trying to convince Krishna by giving various reasons. So there are 5 reasons that he gave. One was that
hold on now, Radhika. Let's go around the room and see if anyone remembers any of the reasons.
I guess to make it more like a Friday experience, if you guys can at least turn on your video when you're speaking, that will make it a little bit more closer to the Friday experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, it feels like we're just sitting in black boxes and we can't even see each other.
Yeah, this is actually virtual. Virtual classes are hard enough, and then if the videos are turned on, then it's just like an experience, it's like a radio experience.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Very
so let's take advantage of our visual. So yeah, go ahead. Anyone? What are the 5 reasons that Arjuna gives?
So one reason is the Arjuna states that if we kill our own kinsman, then what benefit will we get? And when elderly will be killed, the subsequent generation will be corrupted. So that is not good for the whole clan. So that is one of the reasons.
Very nice. Thank you.
And each of the reasons you will see that Arjuna gives, there's an underlying issue there, or underlying issue with Krishna. And So we can discuss about that also. He gives the reasons, but there is a deeper issue within him that brings out that reason.
What is the issue there?
So like here, he's, what will I get? What will I get by killing my kinsman? Even if I get everything, what is the meaning of victory? Or how will I enjoy? So the underlying issue there is that we are me focused. Every conditioned soul is very me focused and just wants to think what's in it for me, and not even thinking what's in it for Krishna. Because Krishna is sitting right there. Arjuna is not concerned about what he's thinking. He's just trying to give him, this is what I think is right. So the second underlying issue there is we have a sense of I'm right.
I was just going to say that, like, such a strong sense of moral uprightness and fairness, right? That I am the upholder of justice, social justice. And, and Krishna, you don't know that you don't know what this would.
You don't even know that by killing these people, as Karthik was saying, elderly people will be gone and the family traditions will be lost. So that's another issue that we think that God doesn't really know. We know better than him. And this basically leads us to do so many things that are not good for us.
Very
mundane
nice.
morality, our attachment to mundane morality.
Mundane morality.
That's the underlying issue with Arjuna. Go ahead.
And so this was the first one. We have 4 more to go.
Well, this covered 2 actually.
2, right.
Because he's attached to maintaining family traditions.
Okay. So 3 more. So Rebecca, we're just going through 5 reasons why Arjuna declines to fight. So we're just exploring 3 more. Anybody else? Yes, Anshulanchita, go ahead.
I will try. We missed a lot of classes because we were in another class. But I think one was that what will I gain or what pleasure will I get? And if I do that, won't I be rot in hell? Anyone who will be doing this, like killing the relatives and destroying the family tradition and disciples, that I will, like, that person will be in hell. So what will I gain? Even if I get all the wealth, even the kingdom, is it even worth it? That's what I.
So you kind of combined 3 reasons together, which is good. So the new one that you mentioned was the sinful reaction, suffering in hell. That was Arjuna's fear, that he will get sinful reaction, karmic reaction, by killing the kinsman. And again, the underlying issue there, Arjuna doesn't really know what will cause karma, what will not cause karma. Following Krishna's desire always frees us, whereas going against Krishna may seem like contradictory, binds us more. If Arjuna had chosen not to fight and gone to the forest, he'd actually be implicated in more karma than when he actually fought and he became liberated by fighting and killing according to Krishna's desire. So sometimes Krishna's desire is contradictory to our mundane sense of morality, and then we think this is harmful to me.
Yeah, I was just thinking that how karma, a lot of people, especially people who are familiar with the Vedic paradigm, they have figured out ways of, sort of going around the whole karmic system and beating the system. Like, I'm going to make, if I make this mistake, I'm just going to go to this place and take a bath or do this ritual, or if I do all of these different pious activities, then I can bypass the system. So like we've sort of learned how to manipulate this whole system of karma. And here Arjuna is bringing that out and saying, well, if I do this, I'm going to get this. So it's a very, very strong fruitive mentality, which is actually, by the way, one of the greatest stumbling blocks on our path to bhakti is this fruitive mindset that if I do this, this is what I will get. What's in it for me?
And what can I get from bhakti? Also, the fruitive mentality carries over even when we start practicing bhakti, and a conditioned soul desires benefits from bhakti. What are the other 2 reasons? The very first thing Arjuna mentions, as soon as he starts speaking, he gives out his first reason.
Should we just read through?
I think that will take
Too much time.
So the first reason, anybody knows the first reason?
Madan Murari, Radhika, go ahead if you guys were.
It's compassion. Compassion.
Yes. Yeah, the first reason that Arjuna gives is compassion. His eyes filled with tears, and he says that how can I kill these people? So initially it's compassion, but again the underlying issue there is misplaced compassion. Prabhupada talks about that a conditioned soul has misplaced compassion. Why is it misplaced? Because it is against the desire of Krishna.
And also because it is only connected to the body.
Only connected to the
Prabhupada
body.
talks about this, that, just like you can't rescue a person by just saving the clothing of a drowning man. So in the same way, compassion is very good. But if you are only compassionate for the material well-being of another person, then that is incomplete compassion or misguided compassion.
Yeah, because it's, yeah. So that's the misplaced compassion. And Krishna says in 5th chapter that he's the Suhita Sarvabhutanam, he's the well-wisher of everybody. So this misplaced compassion also comes out in many different ways while we are living in this material world, that I am the friend, I am the benefactor, I am the protector of all living entities who are under my purview. So this false sense of being the protector and caretaker of other living entities, disregarding Krishna as the real protector and caretaker, that's misplaced compassion. That's the 4th reason. And the 5th reason is not revealed in the 1st chapter. It's going to be revealed in the 2nd chapter. And that is indecision. So that's indecision comes because Arjuna is not clear about his dharma. So all the reasons that he's giving so far is giving from kind of a mundane sense of dharma. And dharma or duties are multi-layered. And Arjuna is completely disregarding the highest dharma or duty of a soul is to follow the instructions of Krishna. So that he is completely disregarded. And as a result, when he's trying to resolve his mundane dharma, he becomes confused.
And I guess the other really, for me personally, the 1st chapter, what I really, really appreciate about the 1st chapter is seeing a warrior of the stature of Arjuna sort of disintegrating and crumbling in front of his enemies and this great big battlefield where everyone's watching him. It's like, this is prime time and the show is about to begin. And then right at that point, he just breaks down in front of everyone. And, even though he's, there is such a discussion these days of like toxic masculinity and this thing to like project ourselves as like being this really, really chauvinistic, masculine person. And here he's such a big Kshatriya, but he's perfectly comfortable revealing his weaknesses, his weakness of heart, and the fact that he's not okay. And so, we live in a world where we walk around with a plaque that says, I'm okay, don't bother about me. But, this just shows the extent of, the extent to which Arjuna is willing to go to, reveal his, his vulnerable self. And that is actually the birthplace. Of course, Brené Brown talks about it being the birthplace of creativity and innovation and all that, but it's also the birthplace of spirituality. Because unless and until one is willing to accept that I'm not all right, until then, there is no question of any kind of spiritual growth. So, that is, and even through the practices of bhakti, one has to continuously keep coming back to that vulnerable space. And from there, then one can continue to grow.
And I guess Krishna is using Arjuna as an example, because if some regular soldier had gone through that breakdown and expressed his vulnerability, nobody would have noticed. But Arjuna is expressing his vulnerability in front of the whole world. Then everybody is noticing. And his expression actually opens up this whole question about, are we really okay in this material world? For example, like a few months ago, there was this Olympic Games in Tokyo. And one very famous US gymnast, Simon Biles or something, Simon, yeah. And she was supposed to win all the gold medals. She was winning all the gold medals for the last 2 Olympics. She was supposed to win everything. And suddenly, right before her turn came, she backed out.
Oh, really?
She backed out because of a lot of mental anxiety and mental. She was going through a lot and a lot of abuse also, apparently. And she backed out, and then the whole world noticed. For a few days, all the headlines were just about Simon Biles backing out, and it brought out so many issues in the whole gymnast team. So similarly, we can see how Arjuna is like that world famous archer, and he's backing out at the last moment, and everybody took notice. And then we are still taking notice that we are discussing his reasons.
Yeah,
it's very moving.
It is very moving, and it also makes us realize that we don't have to be afraid. It requires tremendous amount of courage to stand up and say that I'm not all right, and it's okay. And the most encouraging thing about the first chapter is actually its name, which is Vishada Yoga, which Vishada, means different things. It means lamentation, but it also means poison. And so, but the second word is actually where the whole word actually undergoes a change. So it's Vishada, but it's yoga, which means that it's a way through which we can actually connect, and we can enter into that state only to come out stronger and more rejuvenated.
And I guess the application for us practicing devotees from chapter 1 is, as we are beginning to practice bhakti, we should feel comfortable in expressing our vulnerabilities to devotees we trust and confidence. That is the one integral part of Dadati Patignati, Guhyam Akhyati Prichati. Rupa Goswami, he gives 6 important aspects of practicing bhakti successfully. Is that one of them is inquiring confidentially and expressing our heart in confidence with devotees we trust. So when we are able to do that, sometimes what happens is when we start practicing bhakti, there is an expectation that bhakti is a perfect process. So as soon as I'm practicing it, I should also be perfect, or at least I should present a perfect image that I'm 100% pakka in everything that I do. I don't have any faults. I'm like no weaknesses. I'm supposed to march like a robot, progressing in bhakti. But we don't see that. We'll see that even Arjuna expresses his weakness. We see in Bhagavatam all these great devotees. We see many of their fall downs and then coming out and expressing their weaknesses. So they're showing by example that that's how the softening of the heart and expansion of the heart will happen when we are comfortable expressing our vulnerability.
Very nice. So let's get into the second chapter now.
Yeah.
So now we will get into the second chapter. Where did you guys leave off, by the way?
We can start with second chapter.
Yeah, let's just start with the second chapter.
Yeah.
So here is second chapter, contents of the Gita summarized.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki. Sanjay Vacha Tam tatha kripaya vishtam ashrupurnakulekshanam visidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha.
Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words.
So Prabhupada here talks about material compassion versus real compassion. He says, compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. Very interesting sentence. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. I guess, which means that when we are compassionate to our own soul, by trying to connect it to Krishna, that is self-realization. And also when we are compassionate to others in helping them connect with their real self, that is self-realization.
Yeah, it's really interesting because that means that, we are an eternal soul too. So when we direct that sense of compassion even for ourselves, so that's the beginning. That's how we actually start developing this, start walking down this path of self-realization.
Right.
So it's very nice. So let's read this section, because Prabhupada actually says it like no one else can. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of lesions cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose, the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. So, this is actually right off. There is no, mincing words. The whole second chapter starts by making a distinction between material compassion and spiritual compassion. And it's something that we all struggle with, especially when we see suffering in this world. Our immediate response is to mitigate that suffering simply through material means. But what we see, and Prabhupada talks about that no matter how many material means we may try to create, in this world, but suffering is unstoppable. Even though we may have the best of everything, and we do need the best of everything, it doesn't mean that those things are not required. We do need hospitals where hospitals are required. We do need food. We do need shelter, clothing. All of that is required. But the Bhagavad Gita takes us one step forward and says that is not enough.
I guess it implores us to look at the real cause of suffering for ourselves and for everybody else. The real cause of suffering, our spiritual disconnect. And real compassion is to recognize that and act on alleviating that real distress of everybody.
So I guess before we continue, because I think otherwise, we forget it. I think this verse, we just read it. Let's just see if you guys have any comments or questions on it. Or if this point about material compassion versus spiritual compassion, and Prabhupada's making some strong point, compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. How does that, what does that mean for you? What does it, feel to you? Does it feel like it's too strong a statement? Yes, Himanshu, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I was wondering about the implications of this the sentence that you just said on charity. Like people do charity to accrue good karma, and it's like I was just wondering how exactly, what are the implications on the concept itself? Like if we do charity, is it like not like we are just trying to save the material part of that person? So should we do it, or is it like what does Bhagavad Gita have to say about that? Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you, Himanshu. So I guess somebody else can, let's churn this a little bit more. So what do you think, Anshul, Anchita, Aditi, Eric? Go ahead.
So, I mean, what I understood, and no, I understood what Prabhupada is trying to say, but just thinking that shouldn't be the first step is to have the compassion, and then the compassion with the soul of the person rather than the person itself. Should it be like stage by, or should it be straight away? No, man. But how that can?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's very
but how
nice.
can I? Yeah, how can I compassionate with the soul if I don't compassionate with the person? And how can I show my love?
Very nice point. Very nice point. I'm glad. So Prabhu, Nanda Prabhu, will come to you. I guess we just want to churn this with, just give us a minute. I know you have the answer probably. So let's just find out what else. Shweta, what do you think? Rebecca, if you have any thoughts.
No, that is what I was also thinking, that if we don't feel compassionate about a person, how can we connect, or how can we feel compassionate about his soul?
Nice. I guess it's the same point, same doubt. And it's a valid doubt, actually. What does it really mean to be compassionate to a person if we distinguish, or if we say that, compassion for the body is useless? Then what does it really mean? And what would be the implications, like Himanshu is pointing out, what would be the implications of such a society? Very nice. Anybody else? Yes, Rebecca, go ahead. Aditi, go ahead.
I was just thinking also about something you had said this morning about service. And I was thinking about how when you put the other first, and it's not a genuine compassion that you're feeling, you're putting them first out of something like duty, it creates this resentment. And then that creates this like negative momentum in the relationship. And how it feels like a paradox in like my material incarnation, but it feels like when you have compassion for yourself first, then it's very easy to have compassion for others. And it's like ironic. I don't know. It's like when you're giving yourself compassion, it's like you're giving Krishna compassion, and then it's easy to kind of overflow, and it's easier said than done because it doesn't look right from the outside always.
Right.
But this is what I'm thinking about as we're discussing this.
Such a good point. Yeah. It's just, I really like your point, because something that I used to always notice that when we try to, practice compassion, material compassion, then at some point it can develop into resentment,
Mm.
because there's always two reasons.
You
One
don't
is
get it if you don't.
you don't get it back, but also, you're not connected to your source. And, in fact, you're just kind of feeling depleted, because where do you get it from?
You dry up quickly.
You dry up quickly. So very nice.
Rebecca.
I don't know if you wanted to go, but
Well, I was just gonna say it almost seems like counterintuitive when we think about not saving the dress of a dying man, like because I think the natural instinct is, at least for me, is to want to try and coddle everyone, and just walk around and make everybody's life good, but it's not good. Like, we all should confront the fact that it's not good here. Trying, right?
yeah. Wow. It's really nice. Yeah. I guess the first thing, of course, is that, it's not, it's not that it's this or that. It's not mutually exclusive. What the Bhagavad Gita is bringing us to is this understanding that spiritual compassion includes within it. It's a superset. And within that superset, material care, material compassion is all part of it. The challenge, the reason why Prabhupada's talking about this, is when we separate the two, or we negate one part of it completely, which is what gets negated is generally the spiritual care, right? But of course, there can be some spiritualist who, in the name of spirituality, completely negates material care. That is also lopsided. That becomes fanaticism. That becomes cold-hearted, just cold-hearted, inhuman sort of approach to being spiritual.
Yeah, there's an example that there are a bunch of devotees living together, brahmacharis, and one of them fell really sick, and he had high fever for like few days, and then this other brahmachari boy told him, "Prabhu, you are not this body," and then he replied that, "I am also this body. I have to be taken care of." So in the name of spiritual compassion doesn't mean that we become hard-hearted and we neglect the bodily needs. That's not what is meant here.
That's not what it is. But at the same time, what is also not meant is that our society, our civilization is overly focused on just trying to make us comfortable in a material way. So the Bhagavad Gita is stepping in and saying that's not enough. That, just trying to save the dress of a drowning man, just trying to, like the other example that is often used is a bird in a cage, and right, that we can keep polishing the cage and just never feed the bird, and then think that, oh, I'm such a good caregiver, right? I'm taking care of this bird so nicely, and then the bird starts to cry, and then you go to the bird and say, what's wrong with you? I spend all my working hours just trying to take care of you, and yet you're not unhappy. You're just an ungrateful person. But the reason why the bird is still not happy is because its real needs have not been addressed or met. And that's actually the challenge we see in the world, that even though we are trying so hard to provide care, but the people that we're trying to provide that care to, they don't feel loved or cared for.
Yeah, because once the spiritual compassion is to recognize ourselves as a spiritual being, the other person as a spiritual being, and really feel their deep existential anxiety that everybody, even though they may even seem like happy, and especially if they are suffering, then that suffering is actually coming from their disconnect. And once we connect that person in some way to Krishna, help them connect with Krishna in some way, then it's like training the person to, Prabhupada says, right, you can feed the person fish. It's kind of a gross example. Or you can train the person to fish themselves. So which is better? So when spiritual compassion is applied, then the person becomes connected to Krishna or the source, and then he's directly taken care of, right? Rather than how much care we can provide. So we do our part, but with the intention that somehow this person can be connected to the source. And that is true spiritual compassion.
So Himanshu, the implication of such a statement, first of all, here is something that we will encounter many, many times in our study of the Bhagavad Gita, which is that any one statement can never be taken in isolation. Always has to be looked at from a complete perspective. So just by seeing that one line, somebody could say, well, it means that the next time I see someone hungry, I'm not supposed to give them something to eat. No, It doesn't mean that. What it means is that that's not where we stop. It means that there is more to the person than just their body, or there's more to that person than just their hunger. And their real hunger is really the hunger of their heart. So our we make a real attempt. So charity has to be given, but we have to know how to give the complete charity. And this is what the Bhagavad Gita is alluding to. Does that help, Himanshu?
Yeah, that answers my question actually. From what I understood, like it's like it's not necessary that a poor person is poor at right, like people at very rich who are very rich also may have this deep existential crisis. So I think it's more important to route the needs of the reason where they belong, right?
Yeah.
So that is what I thought about. Yeah.
Definitely, because it's very easy for us to, to have some opulence and then to look upon poor people and say, oh, those poor people, they need our help.
But
and
not
then,
the rich people.
But not the rich people. And then sort of feel like the savior of mankind. I'm going to go and feed them. And like Aditi was saying, that sometimes it may come that there might be some resentment within the heart, or we may also start experiencing some arrogance that I'm God, look at me, I'm feeding so many people. So material compassion comes with a lot of pitfalls. But when we apply spiritual compassion along with, also taking care of the material needs, then that becomes complete. And in our own experience, we have seen that spiritual compassion, a very huge part of it is knowing that you're not the doer. Right? That's a huge component, because if you think you're the doer, then it's no longer spiritual. So anyways, maybe we can continue.
Text 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalam Idam Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Justam Aswargyam Akirti Karam Arjuna.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy.
So this is the first time Krishna is speaking actually in the Bhagavad Gita. And he's going to speak very strong words to Arjuna. How have these impurities come upon you? So all of Arjuna's arguments, all of his compassion, so-called compassion, has been categorized by Krishna, put by Krishna into this one word. Kashmalam idam, impurities. Impurities. These are impurities of the heart. And to get this kind of assessment from your teacher right in the beginning.
Yeah.
Krishna didn't pat him on the back, oh Arjuna, okay, I understand. I know you're so compassionate, so good job. I'll think about it. But he right away starts batting him out of the park, that you're not actually a fit man who knows that you don't know the values of life.
So I guess this is a big topic. We should read this, right?
About who Bhagavan is.
Bhagavan is. Right in the beginning, Prabhupada is actually clarifying, because this is the first time that the word Bhagavan, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha appears in the Bhagavad Gita. And, it's really, it's really telling of the mission of our teachers, the line of teachers that we come from, that it is, they don't leave this idea of God or the absolute truth as an ambiguous thing, but they really, they really bring it out and they really explain it well, so that we have no more confusion of what God is. Now, of course, the word God is a highly loaded word in modern times. The word that is actually used in Sanskrit in our Vedic text is Param Satyam, which means the absolute truth. Now, the absolute truth is defined in the Vedanta Sutra as that from which everything else emanates.
So like Bhagavatam says, the very first thing, Janma Adyasya Yata, that absolute truth is one from whom everything emanates.
Yeah. So all of us, everything that we see in this world, and that we don't see, is ultimately just emanation, just like sunshine is the emanation of the sun planet. So at the same time, that emanation, so the emanation is us, but that absolute truth is not just one thing. It is actually, because a lot of times people in the world, when they think of that absolute truth, they just think of it as like one big light. Sometimes people say, well, he's just, he's in every atom, or he's sitting in everyone's heart, or sometimes people might even say, some people say that he's my deity, he's my worshipable deity. And then people fight with each other based on all these different understanding. Some people even say, I am God. Or that I right now I'm not God, but through my meditational practice, I will become God. So there's a lot of stuff going on, there's a lot of talk about, a lot of gossip about him, that goes on.
Yeah, and some people, if they find a powerful person who has some magical powers, then they start treating that person as God. They start treating their guru, so-called guru, as God. And so you have a tendency to put somebody on a pedestal, God-like pedestal, if you can get something out of them. But ultimately the desire is to finally topple that person from that pedestal and sit on that pedestal ourselves. That is the nature of the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul wants to be God. So here Prabhupada is very clearly explaining what God means.
So
let's read that.
Let's read that. Would somebody like to read this?
Aditi, would you like to read this first couple of paragraphs?
Sure, I can read.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Am I reading at the right place?
Yes.
Okay, great. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagwan throughout the Gita. Bhagwan is the ultimate and the absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal, all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagwan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11, this conception of the absolute truth is explained thus. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yaj jnanam advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwan iti sabdyate. Sorry, forgive me.
Wonderful.
Very good.
The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the absolute truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. These three divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature, may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the absolute truth. The student who is advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the absolute truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the supreme absolute truth. Therefore, the bhaktas, or the transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagwan feature of the absolute truth, are the topmost transcendentalists. Although all students who are engaged in the study of the absolute truth are engaged in the same subject matter. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another. And yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category.
So we'll pause here, and then we will see what you heard. Anything that you heard from this section that maybe you want to
and what you understood.
Yeah, and what you understood.
Myself or for anyone?
Anyone.
Yeah, including yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Anubhav Prabhu, go ahead.
So here they are talking of like a level of realizations for each, we can call a devotee or a material soul, where they are comparing it with the sunshine a sun disk, or if you can enter into the heart of the sun and realize the absolute truth. So they are just trying to figure out how much purity you have in your soul and what you have started realizing. And each of these are the levels of understanding the absolute truth.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, anybody else? Aditi?
What was the
I'm-
question? You got disconnected for a minute.
Oh, okay. No, we just read that paragraph, and so we're just trying to hear from you guys what you heard or what you understood. So
The three aspects of absolute truth.
yeah, three aspects of absolute truth.
I was just hearing that there are many layers to this realization, and that there, like, every layer brings you closer to the goal, and there are many ways to get to this goal, but the paths are not equal, and the every step or every choice that you make on this path, it's not the same. There's still this like diversity in this unity. Yes.
Very nice. I like the unity and diversity. Anybody else? Karthik, do you have anything? Any thoughts on this section?
Oh, not really. I'll just learn, Yes.
Okay. Does it make sense though?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Good.
We lost Himanshu.
Did we lose Manshu? No, he's here. He's here. So yeah, so I guess Prabhupada's talking about these three levels of understanding, and Prabhupada's using the example of the sunshine, the example that I've always loved, and it has helped me understand this, whatever it's worth, is the example of a train. And especially if you have actually ever stood on a train early in the morning, train station, and watched a train come by. And right now, like even right now in the winter season, it gets quite foggy, and then you don't really get to see the shape of the train. All you get to see is this bright light. And if at that point the person actually just goes away, then somebody says, okay, what does the train look like? Then the person would say, well, it just looks like one big light to me. But if that person actually hangs around a little bit longer and is patient and tries to look at the train a little bit more up close, then they will see that actually the train is
it has a form, it has engine and cars.
Yeah, so it's a much more, there's much more focus. And so that would be the first understanding, looking at it from a distance and through the fog, would be the Brahman understanding. And then coming a little bit closer, then you see that, oh, it actually has a form. Then that would be the Paramatma understanding, or the understanding that God is within every single living entity. And then finally, when the train comes to a full stop, and then you enter into the train, and then you see the people engaging with each other, relationships, laughing, eating together. That's the Bhagwan realization, where there is relationship, there's rasa, rasa being exchanged. Rasa means loving exchanges being exchanged. So that's Bhagwan realization. Go ahead, Anshulanchita.
So just a quick question, Mataji. I mean, understood the example, and we were also talking about the train example. This is how we always remember this.
Yeah.
But the question is, the people who follow the Brahman realization, do they follow, or do they believe that we are separate than that light, or they also believe that light is also within us?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Typically, people who follow, there are two kinds of people who follow the Brahman realization. One kind, they know that this light or effulgence is actually an effulgence coming from the body of the Supreme Lord. Just like we all have effulgence, right? We have certain amount of effulgence. You see certain people in a room like Vaisheshika Prabhu or Kund Maharaj or Prabhupada, their effulgence is so bright that everybody is touched by that. So we all have personal aura or effulgence coming from us. So similarly, this Brahma Jyoti is this unlimited effulgence coming out from the body of Krishna. And in this Brahman effulgence, all the material universes, the rest. So this effulgence is, your question was, I lost train of my thought. What was this question?
Your question was that Can you repeat your question again, Arjuna?
So my question was the people who follow this Brahman concept, do they believe this Brahma Jyoti is outside, or it's outside and also within us, like the Paramatma or
Yeah, so they
Paramatma?
believe that this Brahman, I am also part, I am an emanation from this Brahman, and the goal of this path is to go back and merge into this Brahman effulgence and become one with the Brahman effulgence. That is their understanding, or that is their desired goal, that they want to become one with this Brahman effulgence and become the effulgence themselves, like a drop of water going and merging into the ocean and becoming the ocean. So their goal is to become the ocean. This is their heart's deepest intention, is to become the Brahman effulgence, or Brahman themselves, or rather, their highest conception of God or absolute truth is this Brahman effulgence, which is eternal, primeval, ever existing, and there is no material miseries there. It's pure spiritual bliss, which is there, but they want to become Brahman themselves. And that's where the pitfall is, that they want to become God themselves. Prabhupada says this again and again and again in his purports. That's why he says this. And he says this is the last snare of Maya, that you want to become God by merging into Brahman. And then and later on he says that, and that therefore you cannot stay there, because there is no recognition of God as a person. There's no recognition. You want to annihilate your spiritual identity by merging into the Brahman. But that never happens. So as a result, you're lacking, you're looking for service, you're looking for relationship, you get bored there, you fall down again into the material realm and start trying to do mundane service and mundane relationships again. So Brahman effulgence is that just facing the light of somebody, not really seeing them, not caring to see them, not even recognizing their presence as a person, but just, okay, I just treat you as a light, and I want to become you by merging into the light. So it's almost like very offensive in that sense.
Thank you.
Yes, Bhaktilata, go ahead.
No, I just turned the camera on now. Sorry.
No, we want to hear from you. Is there anything maybe you want to share about this discussion?
I was just thinking like how I mean, a person like it is like that desire to merge, like, right, like that we I mean it can be it can be there even in a practicing devotee, right? Like we have to be really careful, like. So initially I used to think like, why talk about the goal right now? Like, we are just beginning, right? Like right in the second chapter, like all that, like, it is like, like as I read the text should lead me to the goal, like rather than, talk about the goal. But then I realized how very important it is, because my spiritual teacher, like he says that like how if we don't know the goal, then if we don't know where we are going, any road can take you there. So which means that we don't know where we are going, which I mean like so that desire, we have to really look into our own heart and then see like what is my where do I want to go.
Thank you. Yeah, we have to really refine our desire. Otherwise, we don't know. Even in the spiritual path, we may find ourselves somewhere else. I don't know if anyone else has any other point. Nikunja, Satsandarbha, it's good to see you guys. Shweta, Eric, Raj.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Krishna.
I was just thinking, when we talk about these three layers, sunshine, sun's surface, and the sun itself. And I was just thinking, even when we think about compassion towards other living entities, we can apply the same principle. So we tend to judge people when we look at them, look from outside, or look at their form, right? We don't really tend to look at the people from inside, because I mean, everybody has a super soul inside them. So so we can apply the same principle to have more compassion towards living entities, not
Yeah.
judge people by just their form or effulgence or.
Yeah, get to know them.
That's a very good point. That's a
Yeah.
very good point.
So
You can finish that report.
we can finish that report. Okay. Karthik, would you like to read further the Sanskrit word Bhagwan?
Oh,
Should I start from these three divine aspects?
The Sanskrit word.
Bhagavan.
Oh, okay. Here, right? After the supreme cause of all causes, right? After that.
No, right from here, the Sanskrit word Bhagwan.
On the screen.
Sorry. Yeah, the Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parasara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, the supreme personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached, but no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayana, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord or Bhagavan, known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karanam Sarva Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. In the Bhagavatam also there is a list of many incarnations of Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead, from whom many incarnations and personalities expand.
Ete chamsa kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Midayanti Yuge Yuge.
All the lists of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or part of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavad 1.3.28. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead and the absolute truth, the source of both super soul and the impersonal Brahma.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's one more paragraph.
Somebody else can finish this.
Somebody else can finish this last paragraph.
Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, the source of both Super Soul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the word Kutaha, wherefrom. Such impurities were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is realization of the Absolute Truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna or his kinsmen.
It's interesting, we've come a full circle.
Yeah.
We started with compassion and your Prabhupada's ending with compassion again. And he's talking about this word Aryan, which has been misused.
It's not a geographical denomination, rather it's a spiritual classification. Somebody who's aware of the values of life, pursuing the spiritual, that is an Arya.
And actually I was thinking that all our entire, going back to this about these 6 opulences, our struggle in this material world is really to attain these 6 opulences. This is what we want.
We're always attracted to those.
Yeah.
Elements.
So like when we say that we all want to become God, that may seem like a very radical statement. And we go, no, me never. But actually, we are always wanting to become the richest, the strongest, the most famous, the most beautiful, most knowledgeable. And renunciation, well, it's a more refined quest. But the point is that we're all running after this. And in this way, we want to become God. Right?
I guess renunciation happens when we feel satisfied. Okay, now I have received enough. Now I want to. But our quest is not over yet, so we are still climbing up.
Yeah, and finally, of course, the Prabhupada says that we want to become God, right? That's like that's another way that we want to So we'll stop here, and I guess take some final comments, reflections, or questions, and then we can end here.
Yeah, actually, I had a question. It's just a follow-up from what was said earlier about if we don't know where we want to go, then any road can lead us there. So, exactly, I just wanted to clarify first one thing, that when we talk about a heart's desire, heart is nothing but an organ that pumps blood in a body, right? So it is related to the mind, right? So in the picture that was described, it's related to it's analogous to the mind, right? So if we want to know about what the heart's, how I wanted to know about how to get in the process of knowing what our heart's deepest desires are, and then even though it's said that our heart's deepest desire is to connect to the conscious, to the super soul, and ultimately to Krishna. What does it mean for our own individual self, our individual attributes? So where does that come into the picture? If everyone's heart's desire is to connect with Krishna, obviously it is, but then I want to know about how it's different also for everyone, what heart's deepest desires may be different for the individual, what it means for the individual self.
Go ahead.
Yes, that's a very good question. So every soul is individual and has a unique way of connecting with Krishna, unique way of serving Krishna. Every soul has unique talents and abilities. And most of them are covered right now by our material personality, our material desires. But it shines through as we start recognizing ourselves as an individual being. Then, you see some devotees, they are very attracted to worshiping Krishna in the deity form. They are very attracted to making different dresses and decorating Krishna in different ways. Some devotees are very attracted to cooking, and their heart's desire is to cook different items for Krishna and feed Krishna in different ways. Some devotees are very attracted to writing, so on and so forth. So the point is that every individual soul has a uniqueness that he wants to use that to offer and serve Krishna.
And that same uniqueness, when it is manifested in the material world, if I understood your question a little bit, I don't know if you were going in that direction, but the fact is that even though at the core of it, we're all missing Krishna and we all want to connect with Krishna, but in the material realm, that desire becomes perverted, or it becomes upside down, and then it manifests in the form of unlimited perversions, unlimited fantasies, unlimited material desires that we accumulate. But if we trace that desire, whatever that desire may be, say a person just loves to do whatever, maybe watch movies or whatever, that's just what they want to do all day long. Now, that may seem as that's just the tip of the iceberg, but if you follow that desire, to its core, what they're really missing is actually that rasa.
A sense of engaging adventure.
Yeah, what they're missing is that desire for that taste of activities, of love or whatever. And that again, you can trace it back to their disconnect from Krishna. So, but that disconnect from Krishna in the material world takes on unlimited forms, unlimited desires.
That day we were listening to this lecture and Mother was saying when Krishna was a little baby or 2-3 years old, then he would tell Mother Yashoda, before going to sleep, he'd say, Mother, I want to hear an adventure story. Can you tell me an adventure story? And then Mother Yashoda would tell him the story of Lord Ramachandra, how adventurous his story was. So I was reflecting that we all have a desire to hear about adventure, watch some adventure that actually comes from Krishna.
Yeah, hence the action movies, right?
Action movies.
So does that sort of, is that where you were going with the Himanshu? Or?
Yeah, that does answer my question. Like I was just looking to since like everyone else, I also want to be of service to Krishna. So I was just looking to identify like the way and the path for me to identify where my heart desires lie and how to sort of. So I understand that like does give me an answer. Like I need to understand what exactly are the skills that I can contribute to like in the material world, or sort of like firstly like get into like I don't know, like it's just a phase, like so that I will start with like material and like that writing like he mentioned. So like if we can like connect our skills to the path of becoming a devotee. So probably that will like help me connect to and like obviously offer my gifts as a like at a more spiritual level. So
very nice.
that is something
Very beautiful. And actually on that note, even the fact that we come and we hear this Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, or we are chanting, that is also service. And even though sometimes it may not be possible for us to connect how this is service to Krishna and how this is service to the rest of the world, but it's very powerful. One person taking a stand and saying that I want to connect spiritually or I want to develop my spiritual consciousness is the greatest contribution actually in the world.
Yeah, like in a war zone, people get injured, right? And they are always in need of healthy people who can serve and take care of people who are injured. So when an injured person takes care of themselves and becomes healthy again, he can provide support to so many people, right? So that is also service. When we take care of ourselves in a spiritual way by hearing, chanting, that is the foundation. And then Krishna inspires us from within. He says, Mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha. From me comes remembrance. So Krishna gives us that inspiration that, hey, you can serve me in this way, you can serve me in that way. The first step is to hear and chant, and then simultaneously those other desires will be facilitated. That's a very auspicious desire that you have to serve Krishna through your talents. And that's how we dovetail our existence in Krishna's service.
Thank you so much.
So I guess we'll stop here.
Yeah.
And if anyone, should we take any last reflections? Or I think we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
We are good.
Okay, we are good. Lokadasha says we're good, so we're good. Thank you, Rajesh. It's wonderful to see you. Ansharanjita, Karthik, again, it's just such a joy to reconnect.
We can have your darshan one last time before leaving, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aditi. Shweta, so happy to have you back.
Eric, so good to have you. We didn't hear from you. We have to hear from you a little bit before we.
I know Eric always has good, just a completely out of the box.
I want to add a line, Guruji, if you allow.
Yes, go ahead, Karthik.
So this is a little bit out of context, but so far, when Arjuna explains all his worries to Krishna, basically here Arjuna is a disciple and he considers Krishna as a teacher, and like Guru Sishyan, And I remember one quote from Kabir that Guru Gobind dono khade काके लगू पाए बलिहारी गुरु अपनो गोविंदियो बताए. So there Kabir says that if Guru and God, if they both stand side by side, whose blessing should I take first? And Guru is the balihari. Guru is the better. Guru is greater because he teaches. God is the great. So here I think when Krishna himself presents as a teacher, that explains everything.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing
That is so
that.
beautiful.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah.
I did have one question actually, because it's something that I've been sort of investigating on my own, and that is that layer that we were talking about of Paramatman. How does that affect your practice? I mean, if you're trying to focus on that aspect of God, what kind of practice would you do in relation to that?
Yeah, for us who are on the practice of path of bhakti yoga, there's no difference because we see Krishna sitting in the heart as super soul. And when we are chanting, when we are doing anything, we are remembering Krishna within us and then also outside us everywhere. But typically, people who worship Paramatma, they do it through the process of Ashtanga yoga, and they try to meditate on the super soul sitting in the heart. And but that process itself, the process of Ashtanga yoga, is described in chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very difficult process, and Arjuna rejects it. So, and the whole concept of Paramatma is when somebody is not like fully interested in submitting to God, but wants to relate to God as like supplier of all the resources. Typically, Ashtanga yogis, they want perfections and siddhis and extraordinary powers, mystic powers by connecting with the super soul. So super soul is expansion of Krishna, is basically for managing and running this universe, and also taking care of us. So an Ashtanga yogi is more interested in worshipping the super soul, but getting material facilities out of him. And therefore that worship is not complete.
But it's the same practice. If someone has a desire to attain Brahman realization, if someone has a desire to attain Paramatma realization, that realization is actually very readily available to a practitioner of.
It's already included.
It's already included. It's a package deal. So Bhagwan realization includes within it Paramatma realization and Brahman realization. So, and that is something that one can focus on. Even as you are chanting, you can focus on the Paramatma within the heart. And one would realize the Paramatma sitting within.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I had read an article on one of the Krishna conscious sites, and yeah, I think that was the conclusion that they reached, that Krishna is Paramatman, and so Paramatman can be worshipped in the same way that we worship Krishna.
Yes.
So okay, all right, and
yeah, go ahead.
Well, that was just my question about that. And I just had one completely off the wall question for everybody in the group, not really related to tonight's discussion. And it, since I've been involved with dreams lately, and I had that dream about talking to Krishna consciousness to a woman. I was just having this idea this past night about how I have never had a dream in which anyone is wearing masks. And, we've been wearing masks for like 2 years. And I was just wondering whether anybody else in the group has had dreams where they've seen people wearing masks. And I'm wondering, from Loka and Vidarbha, if there's any sort of spiritual significance to seeing people wearing masks in dreams, what the spiritual significance of masks is.
No idea. Well,
and masks in general is like, we are all wearing a mask, right? We have so many masks that we are wearing. mask of really trying to hide our real self. We wear a mask, right? That's why people wear masks. When the robbers go to the bank, they wear a mask so nobody will recognize them. So we are actually wearing masks, moving around this world, robbing Krishna's material energy for our own enjoyment and hiding behind those masks, thinking that I'm such a great person, I'm such a devotee. I guess this is how I feel, that I'm wearing so many masks to hide my real self from myself and from others. So it's kind of
but
the cheating mentality of the living entity.
other than that, like you're right. I've never actually dreamt of anyone in a mask. So interesting thought, Eric. We'll meditate on this now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll end here.
See you guys on Monday evening for Bhagavatam discussion.
Right.
And Tuesday morning for those who are in India.
And our mantra meditation continues.
Mantra meditation continues even during the weekend. So no respite.
All right, thank you.
And will you do a Bhagavad Gita again next Friday?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we'll see you then.
Next Friday. So nice to see you.
So good to see you.
See you too. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, bye.